Hello everyone, my name is Stephanie. I am the teacher behind Mrs. D's Corner and the Intentional IEP, and today I'm so excited to share with you about prepping adapted workbinders, or AWBs. Adapted workbinders are great for independent work, but also working on IEP skills, working towards independence. And so one of the biggest questions I get with it is, so when you purchase a digital download of an adapted workbinder, you're gonna get all of these pages, especially the Morning Adapted Workbinder. I think there's over 400 pages. And so you have to know what skills you want your child to work on before you can print the pages. I never suggest printing all 400 pages of the Morning Adapted Workbinder. You're not going to use all of them, especially in the beginning. You may use them as your child progresses through skills or as your student progresses through skills, but you're definitely not going to use them all at once. So what I want to share with you first is how to choose which specific skills, not only to print, but also when you look at the skills, what you're going to see in that PDF, and how to choose which answer pieces go with what pages. So what I did was, I do have one of my morning binders prepped here with skills that I would have my students do in the morning, and I'll share that with you at the end. I'm going to share with you how I store all of the pieces in between, and then I printed two different sets of skills from within the Morning Adapted Workbinder. So I printed out the colors pages, and I printed out the numbers, I think I did 0 through 9 number pages from the Morning Adapted Workbinder. Now if you want to grab the Morning Adapted Workbinder, I've linked it in the video description here. I've also linked all of our other top selling adapted workbinders. We have a science and social studies one, we have a math one, we have ELA for, I'm pretty sure, kinder, first, second, then third. We have a pre-K one, we have an all about me one. We really have everything within an adapted workbinder for pre-K through age 3 or grade 3. So let's take a look at the colors pages first. And so what you're going to see with every single adapted workbinder is the very first page is going to be I can identify. So if I show you the numbers pages here first as well, the very first page in the PDF is always going to be an I can identify. And so the skill itself, what you're working on that specific work page, is at the top. I can, what is the skill? I can identify. So the I can identify pages are the pages that you're just going to print, laminate, and throw into a binder. That is the skill. There's no matching. What you would do with this page with a student or with your child is you would say, again, you would print, laminate, throw it in a binder, and you would say, find the color pink. And your child would point to the color pink. Find the color yellow. Your student would point to the color yellow. So this is like the very first level of this skill, identifying the colors, identifying whatever it is. Find the number. I can identify the number 5. I can identify a shape, right? So identifying is the very first level of the skill. And so if your student or your child can already identify colors or identify numbers, then you're going to move to the next page. And the next page is always going to be an I can match. And sometimes there's variations of this page. And so it's really just up to you in determining where you want your child to start, where the student should start with this specific skill. So for colors, for example, we have I can match colors, and it's the color splats. But we also have I can match colors with the color words. See how these are two very different skills, but it's still an I can match. So you go from identifying the colors to identifying the color name or the word form of that color itself. Now, this is like a higher level skill over identifying the color word in the color. So in the PDF, I had to put these back together. Honestly, it's probably gonna be like this. You're gonna see it in this order. I can identify colors, okay? I can identify colors. I can match color splats. I can match color words in the color that the word is for. And then I can match color words that are all in black, so they actually have to read the word, right? And then it goes into I can trace, and then I can write. And so they would trace the word and then write it on the line. Now, once you determine what specific skill you want your student to work on, you have your answer pieces, which can increase or decrease the difficulty level of that specific work page itself. So because the I Can Identify Colors is a work page on its own, you don't need answer pieces, everything you need is on that page already. I'm gonna start with the I Can Match Colors. So I wouldn't go right from I Can Match Colors to I Can Match Colors, the word form. What I would do first is on the answer pages, right? So all of your work pages are going to come first, always in your download. After all of the answer pages, you're going to find the answer pieces for those specific pages. And this is where I think a lot of confusion comes into play, because there are more answer pieces on this page that will fit on this line than what will fit. And so you're not supposed to use all of these at once on one page. You choose the skill that you want to work on. So if your child just mastered identifying colors, what you're going to do is move into matching same image to image. So you would cut out these color splats, laminate, add Velcro, laminate, add a Velcro line here, put those splat answer pieces on the bottom, which I'm going to show you. What do I have in here? I don't know if I have that one prepped. I do. It'll look something like this. Okay? So then the child is just going to take pink, match it to pink, take red, match it to red, and so on and so forth. But once they've mastered this skill, you don't have to go and print and prep this page yet. What you can do, and what I recommend doing, is saving the other answer pieces from here. So maybe laminate this whole sheet. You don't have to throw all of the Velcro on the back of all of the pieces yet, unless you want to, because you will use them eventually as your student progresses in the skill. So once they've mastered this, where we're matching color to color, color splat to color splat, once you do that skill, you can then move into changing out the color splat answer pieces to the color word answer pieces. So instead of the color words being on the page, they're going to be the answer pieces. And so they would then move those color answer pieces to the correct color. Once they master that skill, they're learning the color words. But here in this skill, they still have the help of the color to match it if they're unsure. So they're still learning the color words. To increase the difficulty of that skill, you could then change out the colored words to the words in black so that they don't have that model or that help for them to help them complete that work page. Do you understand? So then that would be the last level for that work page. Once you've done that, you can then add in this page, or even go to this page and choose whichever one and switch out the answer pieces again. So maybe on this page, you'll start with the color splats and match them. Or maybe you want to start with match identical to identical. So you're going to take the color words and add them on the color word page. There's a lot of differentiation that you can do here as the teacher or as the parent at home. And so it's really important that you understand where your student is before you go printing and prepping all of these different pages. So from there, let's say that we have our color page, we're working on it, and we want them now to write the color words. So I would have, for some of my students, we would be working on matching colors, but I might also have them working on writing these color words at the same time, like as the next answer page or the next work page, right? So it could either be this way where we're just tracing, or maybe I'm gonna have them do a trace and write. So you can put multiple color work pages or multiple pages of the same skill, so multiple color pages, multiple number pages. You can put multiples together of the same skill into one binder. And I'm going to show you again what my morning adaptive work binder looks like for my students that we do in the morning. Let me close this up. All right. I want to show you the identifying or the number pages. So again, it's going to start with I can identify numbers. This one has differentiation for these pages because we have the numbers in sequential order, and then the next identify page is not in sequential order. So this would be where you would start, right? Identify 0, identify 1, show me 2, show me 3. But maybe now we want to work on, okay, show me 0, show me 1. They're not in order. The student actually has to think, right? They still have to think with this page, but the skill is a little bit harder because they're not in order. Once we've finished identifying numbers, we can then, this one goes from 1 to 10 instead of 0 to 9. And then again, they're switched up here. So you choose, do you want to do 0 through 9 or 1 through 10? It's up to you. Then we're going to move into the matching. Same thing with the matching pages. You're going to see multiple different matching pages. So you have the numbers in order, you have them out of order, and then because when it comes to numbers, not only are we matching number to number, we have to know number names. We have to be able to do one-to-one correspondence, which is saying, if I show the number 5, can you show me 5 of this object? Being able to count 5 objects and match that to the number 5. So we have different objects here on this page in a base 10, and then we have counting tally marks. All different skills practicing the same skill set itself within numbers, your basic numbers. So you get to choose the page, and then all of your answer pieces come in, except all of these answer pieces are not on one page for you. So you can do multiple different things. So you have just the numbers, you have counting, so for one-to-one correspondence, and then you have your tally marks. Now notice you don't have the identical base 10s. If you wanted to use them, you could print this page twice and cut them out and use them, you could. But to increase the difficulty level of the skill, for this page, this might be a tough page for some of your students. You might give them the numbers to match what the base 10 is showing with the stars. But if you want them to match counting to counting, maybe you'll give them these different objects to match. That's a difficult skill for some of our students. Or maybe you're working on tally marks, so you're gonna have them count base 10 and then show how many tally marks that would be. Or you could do tally marks to tally marks. It really depends on the skill that you want your student to work on. It also depends on where they currently are and what their IEP goals and where you want them to go. Okay, so that is the biggest question that I get when it comes to adapted work binders is what do I print, what do I prep, how do I know what to do? That is a very long-winded answer, but I wanted to show you examples of what specifically it's going to look like. And so no matter what pages that you print out of any of our adapted work binders at Mrs. D's Corner, the answer is always going to be the same thing. You need to know where your student currently is. Do they have IEP goals, or what skills or what standards are they working on in that specific grade level that your student is in? Or where is that student currently according to their present levels in the IEP? So what skill do we need to start with? And then you can differentiate it from there. This also helps you do the same exact skill, but across all of your classroom, you might have students on multiple different work pages, but they all look the same, right? They're all working on identifying numbers, but maybe you have one student who is doing the identify numbers page. Maybe you have another student who's matching the identical number to number. Maybe you have another student who's matching number to objects. Maybe you have a student who's doing tally marks to numbers. You see how you can have all of your students working on the same exact skill in a binder, but it's a different level of that skill. So that's really important to remember. It's going to be different for each of your students. Now I want to show you my Morning Adapted work binder. There are lots of videos and pictures out there on our social media channels here on YouTube about how to prep the Morning Adapted work binder, how specifically to use it, how we use it in our morning routine, and I will link them all in the video description below this so that you have easy access to click and go. But I did want to show it to you quick just so that you can see an adapted work binder prepped. So we have the spelling here, so you can see I have my name modeled here so students can just match. You could also then just erase that so they have to spell their name, differentiating the skill. I like to print my pages front back, or if I prep them in pouches, I will put two pages back to back in one pouch, so that way I can save space in my binder. I can spell my last name, so there's no model here and they're expected to spell their last name, but we can also work on spelling our name and writing our name next. See how you can do two skills at the same time in one binder. I can write my last name. Now I printed that page extra. And do my full name, working on my phone number, doing my address, working on birthday, calendar, There's so many different ways that you can make a student's adaptive work binder look. And one of the other questions that I do get is, do you create individual binders for all of your students, or do you have like a master binder that all of these skills are in, and then you pull from that? My answer to that is each of my students have their own morning adapted work binder. And so at the very beginning of the day, again, I'll link the whole blog post and the explanation in a video of how we do our morning work. But each of my students comes in the morning after attendance, we do our calendar, and then we do our morning binder work. And each student has the same exact skills in the same exact order in their binders, but the differentiation might look different. Like I said, they might be working on a different level of that skill or have different answer pieces than their neighbor or their peer right next to them. And so I can differentiate as a student masters a skill. I can change out answer pieces at any point in the school year. That's why I like to have extra little pieces prepped. So you can see in here, this is just a bead box. You can also use fishing tackle boxes. You can get them really cheap at Walmart, but you can really store them in anything that you want, especially for the morning adaptive work binders. Each of my kids has one of these because we do our monthly pages and I have them spell the month. And so I have to have all of the month's letters prepped and printed out and ready to go. So that way, when the new month comes, so when September comes or when January comes, when May comes, all I have to do is pull those pieces or have students get their binders and we can do it together. So I can just say, okay, here's January, let's put January back here. Now let's grab February, get those pieces out, put them on the bottom line. And so they can help me change those out. But I also, here at the bottom, you saw on the back of this binder, we have the color pages. We also have the shape pages prepped. And you can see this one is matching picture to picture. But in my little bead box here with additional pieces, I already have the shape names prepped with Velcro on the back, ready to swap out for when Stephanie masters this skill. So when I'm prepping certain skills, if I know Stephanie's like almost there, or I know within this school year she's gonna master this skill and I'm gonna need to change it out, at the beginning of the year when I'm prepping all of these binders, I'll prep the extra pieces and throw them in here so that way we have them. I'll also save these pieces year to year as long as they're still in good shape and not peeling apart, as long as they're not stapled back together, because they're laminated, and we work with our students to do them, and we help them take care of their binders. We can reuse a lot of the pages year to year, so that's really nice. But you can see I have the color pieces here in the color words. I also have them in just the black text. I also have additional, these are autumn, winter, so the seasons. Here are the extra pieces of clothing for those pages. So these are really nice if you're doing individual work binders. I like to keep one of these for each of my students for individual work binders. Let me show you inside a non-morning adaptive work binder and what that system looks like. All right, I have two additional binders here in front of me, adaptive work binders. One is one of the math adaptive work binders from the bundle, and then this is part of the science and social studies adaptive work binder. It doesn't have a cover on it. I don't know what happened to it. Welcome to teaching, right? So we have place value. This is the entire place value binder itself. I actually had my mom help me prep this years ago for my students, put it in I think this is a 2-inch binder or a 3-inch binder. And so what I do for these pages, for all of the other binders except for the morning adaptive work binder, I have one set of each adaptive work page for each of the binders itself. So for all of the math bundle, each part of that bundle, each section of skills, so we have like place value of addition, we have subtraction, multiplication, all of those. So they each have their own. We have a money binder. They each have their own binder. And so I did that for a specific reason, so that way, if I know Stephanie's working on a place value skill and I want to add that to her morning binder, I can come take it out of this binder here. Or if I know we have extra time, or I want to throw one of these work pages into Stephanie's IEP bin, which I'll link the blog post and the video on IEP bins below this, I can just pull the page from here. It's already prepped, ready to go, and I don't have to worry about it. So everything is already prepped in here. This is also great for when you have substitutes or if you have paraprofessionals working in centers with different students, they can easily just go pull things from within a binder that's already prepped and ready to go, similar to task boxes that are prepped, similar to file folder games, except this is an adaptive work binder and all they have to do is prep the page. Do I keep extra pieces of this prepped? I typically don't, because most of my students generally are working on the same scale, but you could easily use one of these for each of these if you wanted, or just have specific pieces, or prep the pieces, put Velcro on the back, and change out the pieces as needed if you're doing a classroom adaptive work binder that you want to pull from. So it really just depends on what you want to do, how you want your adaptive work binders to function. Same thing with the Science and Social Studies binder. Again, here you can see, I just prepped a couple of pages of this one for an example, but you can see I can identify as first. That's always the first skill. So I can identify parts of the rock life cycle. And then we go into matching parts of the rock life cycle. From here then, we're matching the name or the title or what is happening in each of these parts of the rock life cycle. So the skill is increasing in difficulty as we move through those pages. I can trace rock life cycle vocabulary. I can write rock life cycle vocabulary. So all of those pages are here. So let's say we have a student working in their inclusion classroom, their grade level classroom, on the rock life cycle. I can make a mini adaptive work binder for that student, or pull these pages out of this classroom adapted work binder, throw some 3-ring binders in there, or just throw it in a random 3-ring binder, and have the student work on it to work towards that skill. They may not be working on the same exact activity that their grade level peers are working on, but they're learning about the rock life cycle in a way that makes sense. They're engaged for them. And so that's a great way to use adaptive work binders as well. So you can see all the different pages here. I think we're going back through the rock life cycle. Oh, we got fossils. What else is in here? So identifying fossils. I think I saw the United States in here. So matching regions of the United States. This one is fun because these pieces come off, so you can have them match the different regions, or also have them label, like that's the West, right? So you could have them label those as well, changing out those pieces. Tracing the names. What else do we have in here? Identifying continents on a world map. So identify, matching. Again, these pieces all come off. Then you have tracing. So I like keeping these binders prepped, so that way when they're working on a specific skill in inclusion, or if something comes up and a student we read a book about the rock life cycle. It just happens to be a book that we're reading this week from Reading A to Z or something like that, or it's in the curriculum we're using. I can pull those adaptive work binder pages. Maybe that student's super excited about it. And so just to give them something fun to do, maybe to throw it into their center rotation, or maybe to put it in their IEP work bin. That might be something they work on, or maybe they're choosing to do it during their independent time or their free time. Maybe they want to do them. So it's nice having these extra things. I like to call them evergreen, which means I can pull them any time of the year and they're ready to go. So there is a lot of prep work in the beginning of prepping adaptive work binders. But what's really nice is, like I said, I prepped these, oh my gosh, I want to say I probably prepped the math adaptive work binders 6 years ago. So they've lasted me that long. I may have to change out the answer pieces or update the answer pieces as they frill and break apart, because we all know no matter how you laminate, it's all going to come and fray apart at some point as it's used more often and more often. So it really just depends on what you want adapted work binders to do and how you want them to function in your classroom. But you truly have so many options, and I hope that this video was super helpful. If you have any other questions about adaptive work binders, I'm going to link a bunch of our other adaptive work binder videos below this video. We also have an adaptive work binder Q&A blog post that has a supply list and everything you'll need from there, and also more of your questions answered about using adaptive work binders, prepping them, everything in between. So make sure you check the description of this video, whether you're watching it on a social media channel or here on YouTube. Make sure you check the video description for links to all of the different things. I'm going to link all of these binders. I'm also going to link some other blog posts that we talked about, like IEP work bins. But if you have additional questions that I did not answer in this video, please feel free to leave a comment, or you can reach out to me at stephanie@mrsdscorner.com, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you do have about adapted work binders. Thank you so much for being here to learn more about prepping adapted work binders and really utilizing them in your classroom. Don't forget to subscribe or like this page wherever you're watching this video, and we will see you in the next training.